Time is our most precious resource, yet we often waste it with the wrong people. We give our minutes, our energy, and even our peace of mind to individuals and environments that drain us rather than uplift us. As we age, our time becomes even more valuable. But are you spending it where it truly matters? With every passing year, the importance of who we surround ourselves with becomes clearer. It's not just about companionship, it's about the energy we allow into our lives. And if you're not careful, the wrong environments can slowly chip away at your happiness, your health, and even your sense of self. Today, you'll learn about 4 types of homes you should never visit as you grow older, and how avoiding them will protect your happiness and peace of mind. These are not just physical places, but emotional environments that can deeply affect your well-being. Knowing what to avoid is just as important as knowing what to seek. I'm Naim, and on this channel, we explore ideas that transform your way of thinking, living, and connecting with others. Whether it's through spiritual insight, personal growth, or reprogramming your mindset, we're here to help you live more consciously. Stay with me until the end, because the 4th type of home is the most dangerous. Yet many people fall into this trap without even realizing it. It's subtle, it's familiar, and it often disguises itself as something comforting. If you're ready to protect your time, your energy, and your inner peace, then this video will serve as a powerful guide. Let's dive in and take the first step toward a life that values your time as much as you should. We all know someone who constantly complains, but few realize the profound impact that negativity has on our mental and emotional health. It's easy to brush off a few pessimistic comments or sarcastic remarks, but when negativity becomes a constant presence, especially within a home, it begins to take a toll in ways we don't always recognize. Negativity isn't just unpleasant, it's contagious. Scientific studies have shown that being around negative individuals can actually raise your cortisol levels, the hormone responsible for stress. Elevated cortisol over time is linked to anxiety, depression, high blood pressure, weakened immunity, and even a shortened lifespan. So when you repeatedly expose yourself to an environment filled with criticism, blame, and hopelessness, you're not just risking emotional discomfort, you're compromising your health. The home of perpetual negativity can take many forms. It might be a family member's house, where every gathering turns into a complaint session about politics, finances, or other people. It could be an old friend's place, where optimism is mocked, and bitterness is the common language. Sometimes it's even our own childhood home, where unresolved wounds and toxic patterns continue to live long after we've grown. What makes these environments particularly dangerous is their familiarity. You may feel obligated to visit, thinking, that's just how they are. But remember, understanding someone doesn't mean you must absorb their energy. Compassion doesn't require proximity. So how do you protect yourself? Start by setting clear emotional boundaries. You don't need to cut people off entirely, but you do need to manage how much time you spend with them and how much influence you allow them to have. Limit exposure when possible and balance those interactions with uplifting experiences. You can also steer conversations toward positive or neutral topics. Sometimes people fall into negative loops out of habit, and a gentle redirection can shift the tone. If that doesn't work, protect your peace by gracefully excusing yourself. You are not required to stay in an environment that drains you. Another key strategy is surrounding yourself with people who inspire and energize you. Seek out relationships where laughter comes easy, where ideas are shared, and where growth is encouraged. Over time, these positive environments begin to shift your internal state as well, fostering a mindset that's more resilient, joyful, and grounded. Remember, your energy is sacred. As you grow older, you have the wisdom and the right to choose where that energy goes. Visiting a home filled with perpetual negativity might feel like a small act of tolerance, but repeated visits turn into emotional conditioning. You begin to absorb the heaviness, internalize the complaints, and subconsciously lower your own expectations for joy. Don't let someone else's unresolved pain become your emotional landscape. Life is too short to be spent in rooms where the air is thick with resentment and the future is seen as bleak. You deserve spaces that feel light, conversations that lift you, and people who remind you of what's possible, not what's broken. And as we move forward, remember, negativity isn't always loud. Sometimes it whispers through passive-aggressive remarks or subtle dismissals of your dreams. Stay alert and trust your emotional responses. If you feel drained after visiting someone, that's your intuition speaking. In the next section, we'll talk about an even subtler danger, the home of those who see you as a burden, and how this invisible weight can be just as damaging as overt negativity. We often assume that those closest to us, family, longtime friends, or even children, will always value our presence. But as time passes, a painful truth sometimes reveals itself. Not everyone who is around us genuinely welcomes us. Some simply tolerate us, and worse, some begin to see us as a burden. This realization can be deeply unsettling. After all, we've invested years into these relationships. We've shown up, offered help, made sacrifices, but the home where you feel like an obligation instead of a blessing is a place you must approach with caution. Elderly individuals especially report feeling invisible within their own families. They sit at tables where their words are dismissed or interrupted. Their stories are brushed off as irrelevant. Their needs are minimized or worse, met with irritation. Over time, these subtle signals send a powerful message. You don't belong here the way you once did. It doesn't always come in harsh words. Sometimes it's the sigh before someone agrees to give you a ride, the impatient glance when you need extra time, the way your visits are scheduled only when it's convenient for them. These moments, when accumulated, create a heavy emotional weight. But here's the truth: you are not a burden. You are a human being with value, wisdom, and presence. And you deserve to be in environments where that is recognized, where your stories are listened to with interest, your feelings met with compassion, and your presence welcomed, not merely tolerated. So how do you spot this kind of home? Watch for dismissive remarks cloaked in humor. Notice if conversations only happen when you initiate them. Pay attention to the energy when you arrive. Does the room light up or dim down? Are you part of the family dynamic or merely sitting at the edge of it? And perhaps most importantly, notice how you feel when you leave. Do you feel uplifted or quietly diminished? Protecting yourself starts with acknowledging the reality without guilt. You can love someone and still admit that their home no longer nurtures your spirit. You can appreciate your history with them while recognizing that their current behavior no longer aligns with how you want to feel. Begin setting emotional boundaries. Limit your time in places where you feel small. Communicate openly when it's safe to do so, or choose silent distance when that feels wiser. Your peace of mind is more important than maintaining appearances. Also, don't hesitate to cultivate new connections later in life. Many people believe that meaningful relationships can only come from long histories, but some of the most beautiful bonds are formed when you are finally able to show up as your true self and be embraced without pretense. As you age, your time becomes too precious to spend in places that make you question your worth. You deserve to be where you are valued, not for what you do, but simply for who you are. In our next section, we'll explore a different, but equally painful dynamic, the home of those who only seek you when they need something, and how recognizing this pattern can help you protect your emotional and even financial boundaries. There's a subtle kind of relationship that can feel deceptively warm at first, because it often starts with smiles, kind words, and sudden attention. But over time, a pattern reveals itself. These people only reach out when they need something. Their home becomes a revolving door of hidden agendas, not genuine connection. Psychology refers to this as the scarcity effect. When something or someone is perceived as limited or rare, people tend to value it more. But in these relationships, it's not your presence they miss, it's what you can give. Your time, your resources, your support, these are the real attractions. Once their need is met, so is the interaction. Many individuals, especially as they grow older, fall into this trap without realizing it. They go months, even years, without hearing from certain relatives or acquaintances. Then suddenly, a phone call arrives. A visit is planned. The warmth feels real, until the favor is asked, the request made, or the obligation implied. It's a painful realization. You weren't missed. You were remembered because you serve a purpose, and once that purpose is fulfilled, so too is the connection, until the next time you're needed. Stories like this are more common than you think. A woman in her 70s receives weekly calls from her niece, only to discover that each call is a build-up to asking for money. An old friend rekindles contact, not out of nostalgia, but because they're looking for a job referral. These homes may look inviting on the surface, but they are transactional at their core. So how do you protect yourself? First, recognize the signs. Do they only contact you when they need something? Are their conversations always steering toward a favor or request? Is there little follow-up or interaction when you are the one in need? Second, establish internal boundaries. You don't need to confront everyone, but you do need to stay aware. You are allowed to say no. You are allowed to protect your energy, time, and resources without explanation. Generosity should be a choice, not a default expectation. One powerful approach is to give without attachment, but with clarity. If you choose to help, do so knowing why, but never feel obligated to meet someone's needs simply because they remembered you when it was convenient. Also, don't confuse activity with affection. Just because someone is present doesn't mean they're invested. Real relationships are mutual. They include support, presence, and care, even when nothing is needed. And remember, you are not selfish for protecting yourself from these dynamics. You are wise. You are honoring your self-worth. As you grow older, time and energy become sacred currencies. Spend them on people who value you not for what you do, but for who you are. True connection doesn't come with strings attached. It comes with open hearts, shared moments, and mutual respect. In the next section, we'll go even deeper into a type of home that feels safe, even nostalgic, but can quietly rob you of your future. The home of those who live in the past and drag you with them. Some homes feel warm because they carry the scent of old memories. Photos on the wall, familiar laughter, stories that have been told 1,000 times. But there's a fine line between honoring the past and becoming trapped in it. And when a home is rooted entirely in what was, it can quietly pull you away from what could be. Spending time with people who live in the past may seem harmless at first. After all, nostalgia can be comforting, but over time, you might notice something deeper happening. Your present begins to feel less significant. Your dreams start to seem less urgent. The conversations never move forward. They circle around the same regrets, old wounds, or faded glories. There's an emotional toll to this repetition. Constantly reliving old pains, especially ones that were never fully healed, can reopen wounds you've worked hard to close. And when others insist on staying in the past, they often expect you to stay there with them. Your growth may be seen as betrayal. Your hope may be met with cynicism. This kind of environment is especially dangerous because it disguises itself as familiarity and love. But love doesn't hold you hostage to what you used to be. Love evolves, it grows with you, and any space that punishes you for changing is not truly nurturing you. A common example is the family member who can't stop talking about the good old days and dismisses everything modern as empty or meaningless, or the friend who constantly brings up past failures, yours or theirs, as if they define the present. In these homes, the future feels irrelevant, and the now feels numb. So, how do you navigate these relationships? First, recognize that compassion does not mean regression. You can honor someone's pain or memories without allowing them to anchor you. You can listen without agreeing. You can be present without being pulled backward. Second, gently introduce conversations about the present and future. Ask, what are you looking forward to? Or, what have you been thinking about lately? Some people get stuck in the past simply because they've forgotten how to dream. But if these efforts fail, if every attempt to look ahead is met with resistance or ridicule, you may need to set clearer emotional boundaries. Protect your mindset. Be intentional about how long you stay in those environments and what energy you carry with you when you leave. Surround yourself with people who are building something, whether it's a goal, a habit, or a new chapter. Growth is contagious, just like stagnation is. Choose the energy you want to absorb. And most importantly, never feel guilty for wanting more than nostalgia. Your life is still happening. You still have pages to write, moments to live, memories to create. You're not a relic, you're a force of becoming. The past can be a beautiful place to visit, but it's not meant to be your permanent address. In the next section, we'll explore why the people you spend time with have a direct influence not only on your emotions, but on your health, longevity, and quality of life. There's an old saying, show me your friends and I'll show you your future. But it's not just a poetic thought, it's a biological reality. The people you consistently surround yourself with don't just shape your mood, they can influence your lifespan, your health, and even the quality of your thoughts. Scientific studies confirm this. One Harvard study that tracked individuals for over 75 years found that strong positive relationships were the most consistent predictor of happiness and longevity. Not wealth, not fame, relationships. The people in your life have a direct impact on your nervous system, your immune response, and even your brain function. Think about that. Every conversation, every shared meal, every moment of laughter or tension, your body absorbs it all. Positive relationships regulate stress, reduce inflammation, and encourage healthier behaviors. On the other hand, toxic or draining connections elevate cortisol, increase anxiety, and even lead to social withdrawal, which in itself is linked to cognitive decline and physical illness. It's not just about avoiding bad people, it's about being intentional with your circle. Who lifts you, who drains you, who makes you feel seen, heard, and inspired, and who leaves you feeling small, defensive, or invisible. Surrounding yourself with the right people means choosing growth over comfort, truth over familiarity, and connection over obligation. It means spending time with those who challenge you with love, celebrate your wins, and stand with you through your lows, not just when it's convenient. It also means recognizing when a relationship has run its course. Some connections serve a season, and clinging to them out of guilt or habit only keeps you from forming new, healthier bonds. So how do you begin shifting your social circle? Start with awareness. Pay attention to how you feel after spending time with someone. Energized, grounded, uplifted, or drained, anxious, and heavy? Your body tells the truth, even when your mind tries to rationalize. Next, create space. You don't need to make dramatic exits. Sometimes it's simply about reducing frequency, limiting depth, or choosing not to engage in every invitation. As you create space from unhealthy connections, you make room for new ones. Then seek alignment. Look for people whose values match your own. People who are curious, open-hearted, and committed to growing. You don't have to agree on everything, but you do need to feel safe to be yourself. And don't underestimate the power of one or two meaningful connections. A strong, supportive friendship is more valuable than a crowd of acquaintances. This process may feel lonely at first. Letting go often does. But as you refine your circle, you'll begin to notice the shift, not just in your mood, but in your clarity, creativity, and even your physical well-being. You'll wake up with more peace, more focus, more energy to invest in what matters. Because when you're surrounded by the right people, life becomes lighter. The challenges don't disappear, but you're no longer carrying them alone. In the next section, we'll explore practical strategies to help you avoid falling into the traps we've discussed, and how to confidently protect your emotional well-being as you move forward. Knowing which environments to avoid is just the first step. The next, and perhaps more powerful step, is learning how to protect yourself from being pulled into those emotional traps in the first place. Because the truth is, these social dynamics are often subtle. They disguise themselves as duty, kindness, or even love. That's why developing conscious strategies is essential to maintain your peace, your clarity, and your emotional well-being. The first key strategy is learning to say no without guilt. Many people fall into toxic environments simply because they don't know how to refuse without feeling selfish. But boundaries are not rejection, they are protection. Saying no to others is, in many cases, saying yes to yourself. Practice small moments of refusal, declining a visit that drains you, choosing not to answer a call that always leaves you anxious, or stepping away from a conversation that turns negative. The more you practice this, the more natural it becomes. You're not avoiding people, you're protecting your energy. The second strategy is to prioritize your emotional well-being the same way you would your physical health. Think of it this way: you wouldn't eat spoiled food just to be polite. So why absorb toxic emotions out of obligation? This means regularly checking in with yourself. Ask, how do I feel after that interaction? Did that environment nourish me or deplete me? Your emotions are messengers. Listen to them. Use them as a compass. Next, work on replacing passive relationships with intentional ones. Don't just let people drift in and out of your life without evaluation. Choose your company. Curate your environment. Seek out people who align with your values and lifestyle. Those who talk about ideas, goals, healing, and growth. Building a positive social circle doesn't require a large network. It starts with one authentic connection. Be open to meeting new people, even later in life. Join groups, attend community events, or explore shared interests. These small actions often lead to the most meaningful relationships. Another vital strategy is to be clear about your needs and expectations in relationships. Silence creates space for assumptions, and many people will take more than you're willing to give unless you communicate your limits. Express yourself with kindness, but with clarity. Respect flows from transparency. Also, create rituals of self-reconnection. After time spent in emotionally heavy environments, give yourself time to recharge. That might mean journaling, meditating, walking in nature, or simply sitting in silence. These practices ground you and help release any lingering emotional residue. And finally, don't let guilt control your decisions. Guilt is a powerful emotion, but it's not always accurate. Just because someone expects something from you doesn't mean you're obligated to give it, especially if fulfilling that expectation comes at the cost of your peace. The path to emotional freedom is paved with conscious decisions. Each time you choose alignment over obligation, clarity over confusion, and inner peace over external approval, you reclaim a piece of yourself. And as you continue this journey, remember, protecting your emotional space isn't isolation, it's self-respect. It's choosing to live from a place of intention rather than reaction. In our next section, we'll dive into a topic many people avoid, the dangers of loneliness, and how to guard yourself against it without settling for the wrong company. Loneliness is one of the most underestimated threats to our well-being, especially as we grow older. It's often viewed as a quiet discomfort, something we simply get used to. But in truth, loneliness is a silent epidemic, and its impact on our health is as real as any physical illness. Recent studies have shown that chronic loneliness can be more harmful than smoking 15 cigarettes a day. It's linked to heart disease, weakened immunity, cognitive decline, and even premature death. The absence of meaningful social connection doesn't just affect your emotions. It rewires your brain, alters your stress response, and weakens your overall vitality. But here's the paradox. In the fear of being alone, many people end up surrounding themselves with the wrong company, individuals who diminish them, use them, or hold them back. They choose familiarity over fulfillment, noise over nourishment. It's crucial to understand that being alone is not the same as being lonely. In fact, solitude can be deeply restorative when embraced intentionally. It's only when we feel disconnected from others and from ourselves that loneliness becomes dangerous. So how do you strike a balance? First, start by redefining the quality of connection you seek. It's not about having more people around, it's about having the right ones. A single, genuine relationship is more powerful than a room full of empty interactions. Look for connection that feels mutual, safe, and emotionally honest. Next, build your independence, not as a defense mechanism, but as a foundation. The more secure and content you are in your own company, the less likely you are to tolerate relationships that deplete you just to avoid solitude. Engage in activities that reinforce your sense of self. Creative hobbies, spiritual practices, learning something new, or even volunteering. These experiences connect you not only to others, but to a greater sense of purpose. Also, take time to reflect on your past social patterns. Ask yourself, have I ever stayed in a relationship out of fear of being alone? Have I ever settled for surface-level connections just to avoid the silence? Awareness is the first step to change. To avoid falling into emotional traps, create a connection compass, a personal checklist that helps you evaluate your relationships. Does this person inspire growth? Do I feel seen and safe with them? Can we share silence as comfortably as conversation? If the answer is consistently no, it may be time to shift your attention elsewhere. Importantly, don't wait for others to find you. Take initiative. Join interest-based communities, online groups, or local meetups. Attend workshops or classes that align with your values. Many people are also looking for meaningful connection, but someone has to take the first step. And remember, you deserve to be around people who choose you, not out of convenience, but out of care. The fear of loneliness should never drive you into the arms of those who don't value your heart, your time, or your essence. Choosing yourself may feel lonely at first, but in doing so, you clear the path for relationships that truly matter. In the next section, we'll explore how to build a social circle that genuinely adds value to your life, and how to recognize the difference between connection and convenience. At this stage of life, your relationships should do more than just fill space. They should add value, spark joy, and reflect the person you are becoming. True connection isn't built on habit, convenience, or shared history alone. It's built on mutual respect, emotional safety, and aligned values. So how do you intentionally build a social circle that nurtures and supports you? First, you must redefine what friendship means to you now. As we grow, our needs evolve. What once mattered, like constant communication or shared activities, might no longer be your priority. Now, you might crave depth over frequency, presence over performance, and quality over quantity. Start by asking yourself, what do I want to feel in the company of others? Safe, understood, energized, supported? Use these feelings as a filter. If a relationship consistently leaves you feeling the opposite, it may not belong in your inner circle. Second, observe people's patterns, not just their words. True friends are consistent. They show up when it matters. They celebrate your growth, not compete with it. They listen without judgment and speak without cruelty. They don't disappear during hard times or show up only when it benefits them. One of the clearest signs of a valuable relationship is reciprocity. There's a natural give and take. You don't feel like you're always the one reaching out, making plans, offering support. The effort is mutual, and that mutuality builds trust. It's also essential to create space for new connections, even if it feels uncomfortable. Sometimes we cling to old relationships because we think it's too late to start again. But beautiful friendships can bloom at any age, if you're open to them. Put yourself in environments that attract the kind of energy you want. That could mean joining a group that discusses personal development, attending spiritual workshops, or even participating in wellness classes. These spaces naturally filter for people who share your mindset and values. Also, learn to spot red flags of convenience-based friendships. These are the relationships that revolve around what you can offer, your time, your help, your resources, but disappear when you need support. If someone consistently reaches out only when they need something, that's not connection, it's dependency. To cultivate lasting bonds, focus on emotional intimacy. Be willing to show up authentically. Share your thoughts, your fears, your dreams. Vulnerability is the foundation of connection, and when you offer it with the right people, it deepens trust and fosters a stronger bond. It's also important to release guilt around distancing yourself from relationships that no longer serve you. You're not abandoning anyone, you're honoring your emotional boundaries. Letting go of what drains you makes room for what uplifts you. Finally, celebrate the people who bring light into your life. Express gratitude, nurture those connections. Be intentional about staying in touch, even with a simple message or gesture. Relationships, like anything meaningful, require care. A social circle that truly adds value to your life doesn't happen by accident. It's built through clarity, courage, and conscious effort. And in the next section, we'll look at specific activities and places where you can meet like-minded individuals who are also seeking deeper, more meaningful connections. Once you've made the decision to surround yourself with people who truly uplift you, the next step is finding them. Contrary to what many believe, meaningful relationships don't only emerge from years of shared history. They can also begin with shared values, intentions, and curiosity. So where do you go to meet like-minded people? It starts with putting yourself in environments that reflect the kind of connection you want to cultivate. You're not just looking for company, you're seeking community. One of the most effective ways is through interest-based groups and workshops. Whether it's a book club focused on personal development, a meditation circle, or a writing group, these spaces naturally attract individuals who value growth, reflection, and honest dialogue. Being in a room where everyone is there to learn, heal, or evolve creates an instant foundation for authentic connection. Another powerful option is to explore spiritual or wellness communities. Yoga studios, mindfulness retreats, or local churches and temples often host events and gatherings where connection goes beyond surface-level small talk. In these spaces, vulnerability is welcomed, and deep conversations are the norm, not the exception. If you enjoy movement and being outdoors, consider joining walking groups, nature meetups, or volunteer cleanup teams. Activities like these not only nourish your body, but also attract people who value balance, contribution, and community engagement. Volunteering is another underrated gateway to meaningful relationships. When you contribute your time to a cause you believe in, you're automatically surrounded by others with aligned values. Whether it's helping at a local shelter, mentoring youth, or supporting a food drive, shared purpose creates instant rapport. For those who are more introverted or prefer structured settings, online communities and forums can be a starting point. There are countless groups dedicated to mindset work, spiritual growth, health, and personal development, What begins as a digital conversation can often blossom into real-world friendships. The key in all of this is intentionality. Don't just show up, engage. Ask thoughtful questions. Listen with presence. Be open about your own journey. People are more drawn to your authenticity than your achievements. When you're real, you invite others to be real too. Also, stay curious. Sometimes we dismiss potential connections too quickly because they don't immediately reflect everything we're looking for. But growth often comes from unexpected places. Give people a chance, observe their energy over time. If you feel nervous stepping into new spaces, remember, everyone else feels that too. Most people are just waiting for someone to break the ice. A simple smile, a shared comment, or a question can open a door you didn't know existed. Make it a habit to regularly attend environments that reflect your values. Consistency builds familiarity, and familiarity builds trust. You don't need to network, you need to connect. Let your presence speak for itself. Lastly, remind yourself that it's never too late to form deep, soul-nourishing bonds. Some of the most transformative relationships happen in later chapters of life, when you finally know who you are and what truly matters. In our next section, we'll bring everything together, offering a clear path forward to transform your social life through conscious decisions that protect your peace and elevate your everyday experience. Your social life is not something that just happens to you. It's something you shape, consciously or unconsciously, with every yes, every no, every person you let close, and every boundary you choose to hold. And now, with everything you've uncovered in this journey, you're in a powerful position to take full ownership of your social environment. Let's begin with a quick recap of the key lessons. You've learned that certain homes, whether physical or emotional, can drain your energy, damage your peace, and subtly pull you away from the life you want to create. The home of perpetual negativity, where complaints and criticism replace encouragement. The home where you're seen as a burden rather than a blessing. The home of opportunism, where you're valued only for what you can give. And the home stuck in the past, where growth is feared and nostalgia becomes a trap. You've also explored the profound impact of your relationships on your mental, emotional, and even physical well-being. Positive connections don't just feel good. They literally help you live longer, think clearer, and feel stronger. And now you know, surrounding yourself with the right people is not a luxury, it's a necessity. So how do you begin transforming your social life from this point forward? Start small, but start intentionally. Reevaluate the relationships in your life using what you now understand. Ask yourself, does this person support my growth? Do I feel safe, seen, and energized in their presence? If the answer is consistently no, it may be time to redefine your connection with them. Next, begin to curate your environment. Just like you would declutter your home to create more peace, declutter your social space to make room for nourishing energy. This doesn't mean burning bridges. It means gently backing away from what no longer feels aligned. Make conscious decisions about where you spend your time, who you engage with, and how deeply you invest in each relationship. Be okay with being selective. You're not rejecting others, you're protecting your peace. Then invest in new, aligned connections. Attend events, join communities, and participate in activities that reflect your values. Show up authentically, and you'll naturally attract people who resonate with your energy. Most importantly, stay consistent. One conscious decision won't change your life, but a series of small aligned choices absolutely will. Choose people who inspire you. Choose conversations that uplift you. Choose environments that reflect your evolution. And finally, take ownership of your role. Be the kind of friend you're looking for. Offer presence, honesty, and support. Set the standard and watch how others rise to meet it or naturally fall away. This journey isn't about isolation, it's about elevation. You are choosing to build a life that honors your time, your energy, and your soul. And that begins with the people you allow into your most sacred spaces. As we move into the final moments of this video, let's reflect on how powerful your next decisions can be. Because when you start choosing your connections with intention, you don't just protect your peace, you reshape your reality. Or, in the conclusion, we'll leave you with a final reflection, a powerful question, and a clear invitation to continue your journey of transformation. Life is too short to waste on those who don't truly value you. Every moment you spend in a space that drains you, is a moment you could have invested in peace, joy, or meaningful connection. And now you know the signs, you've seen the patterns. More importantly, you've learned how to break them. You're no longer living by default, you're living by design. Because the truth is, your environment matters. The people you allow into your life help shape your thoughts, your emotions, and your overall experience of reality. When you start choosing people who uplift you, spaces that inspire you, and relationships that feel mutual, you start living with more clarity, purpose, and fulfillment. This isn't just about cutting ties. It's about stepping into alignment. It's about honoring your time and knowing your worth. So ask yourself, have you ever experienced one of these situations? Have you visited a home where you felt invisible, drained, or only appreciated when you were needed? If so, you're not alone, and your experience matters. Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your story, and your insight might help someone else feel less alone in theirs. If this video resonated with you, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. It helps us continue creating content that supports your journey of growth and transformation. And if you know someone who needs to hear this message, share it with them. You never know the impact a single video can have. Finally, don't stop here. Watch the next video on your screen to continue your journey of personal evolution. We'll go even deeper into the mindset shifts that create lasting change. Until then, protect your energy, honor your time, and never settle for less than what your soul deserves.